Hello, everyone. Thanks for starting your day off with us here at Good Morning ArkLaMiss on KNOE and KAQY. I'm Taylor Yakowenko.
And I'm Tyler Smith. Woo! Glad I made it through that interview.
From sitting over here.
We're talking about today's Zoo Buddies. What were those snakes called?
We had some rosy boas on today, but they were babies.
Yes, much smaller than what Dylan Robichaud had to do with the other week, right?
Oh, yeah. These were really cute, really sweet snakes. They're really cool. You should check them out over on our website after the show.
Absolutely. But meantime, we're going to send things over to Dylan Robichaud for a first look at your forecast. Good morning, Dylan.
Hey, good morning, guys, and this is just proof that Lisa is out to get me, because a couple weeks ago when it was me who was interviewing, she brought the big snake. But anyways, let's get a look at your weather for today. It is going to be hot once again. Heat indices up around 105 to 107, looking at sunshine to start, but by the afternoon, maybe a few scattered clouds, looking at temperatures probably in the mid-90s. Tyler and Taylor?
Dylan, thank you. ULM is digging deeper into the field of health sciences this morning, literally.
Yeah, they're breaking ground on the new medical school today. Olivia Russell is live from the Grove and Heritage Park. That's where the building's going to be. Olivia, I understand the groundbreaking doesn't mean everything is finalized just yet.
Well, Taylor, the medical school will be operated by VCOM, which is renting this property from ULM. They say that the groundbreaking for the building just legitimizes that partnership between ULM and VCOM in the eyes of the state. Now, VCOM already has the building or the property for the building. They've also been approved by the Board of Regents to operate a medical school in Louisiana, and they've appointed a dean. They say the final step in guaranteeing this as a medical school will be getting national accreditation. But the university says the groundbreaking for the building is a key part in that process.
So it's kind of a, chicken and egg thing. You got to have accreditation, but you got to have the building. So they've got to get that building going, and then they get the accreditors in and start accepting students.
Now, the groundbreaking will take place this morning at 11 o'clock with special guests like Governor John Bell Edwards, VCOM reps, and Monroe city leaders. Now, the president says the construction could start right after the groundbreaking. They say that could last about a year, and if everything goes as planned, this medical school will welcome in future doctors as early as the fall of 2020. Taylor, Tyler.
All right, Olivia, thank you. Moving on to health news this morning. University Health Conway getting ready for flu season. They say they haven't seen any cases just yet, but say that October is when they'll really start to see cases skyrocket. They just received a large shipment of flu vaccinations and say they're already starting to screen people for the virus.
Try to screen everyone that comes in the door, everyone that comes to clinic, everyone that's inpatient, and on every service in the hospital. Usually whoever's triaging, nurses or whatever, will do pre-screen.
Doctors say everyone should get flu shots, especially people who have heart conditions or other illnesses. Taylor?
All right, thank you, Tyler. And going in depth this morning, Louisiana doctors are no longer limited when it comes to how many prescriptions they can write for medical marijuana. Gwendolyn Ducree shows us how this could help some folks right here in our area.
In a way, I'm helpless, I guess you can say.
Pain is something John Nash knows well. He's had countless surgeries since a car accident and a work injury decades ago. Ever since, he suffers with seizures and tremors. It's so bad he had trouble putting on our microphone. He's tried different meds, but says he needs something different.
The Ruston doctors disagreeing with what the Shreveport doctors have said.
He's thinking medical marijuana could finally calm his tremors.
Where if this could calm that, if not stop it, I would love to go to work. I really, really would.
He could be one of many who might be able to get their hands on some after regulators lifted a 2-year cap. Monday, the State Board of Medical Examiners agreed to let doctors treat more than 100 patients at a time. The board also got rid of a rule that would have required medical marijuana patients to see their doctor every 90 days to continue getting treated. And with Northeast Louisiana just months away from its first dispensary, the owners say this is good news.
When you've got a limited number of physicians, the way to correct that is to take the cap off.
Morrison says taking the cap off doesn't mean free reign.
This is just going to be so controlled. GP Sciences is trying to create a product that is a consistent product.
Now, officials say this isn't for folks to get high. It's to relieve the pain. And in Nash's case, do the things he can't do now.
Spend more active time with my daughter because I'm right now I'm kind of limited on a lot of stuff I can do.
And by federal standards, marijuana is still illegal, but here in Louisiana, it's considered legal. The dispensary is slated to open December 1st.
And check this out. You're looking at 225 pounds of methamphetamine. The drugs were seized during traffic stops in towns between the border and Phoenix, Arizona. One state official called the influx of drugs a form of terrorism. The bus was made by the Arizona Border Strike Force Bureau. It was created 3 years ago to battle crime coming in from the border.
And in controversy this morning, Judge Brett Kavanaugh will soon hear from his accuser.
That's right. Next week, President Trump's Supreme Court nominee will testify about assault allegations from decades ago. And as John Lawrence reports, the woman accusing Kavanaugh will also appear before the panel.
Judge Brett Kavanaugh will soon have to face questions about his past. The Supreme Court nominee will testify to a Senate panel Monday about an alleged assault from the early 1980s. His vote for the High Court was originally scheduled for Thursday.
We want to go through a process. We want to make sure everything is perfect, everything is just right.
This will probably shock the White House, but I agree with President Trump when he said a delay is not going to hurt anything. We should have a delay to get all the facts.
Kavanaugh's accuser, Professor Christine Blasey Ford, is also set to testify.
She knew that she was going to be, her allegations were going to be outed, and that, in fact, is what occurred. And as a result, she decided to take control of this and tell this in her own voice.
Ford says Kavanaugh assaulted her while the two were in high school, saying he pinned her down and tried to undress her. Kavanaugh denies the allegations.
For too long, women have made serious allegations of abuse and have been ignored or dragged through the mud. It would be a disgrace if this body and our fellow Republicans let that happen.
An accusation of 36-year-old misconduct dating back to high school has been brought forward at the last minute in an irregular manner.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
In political news, the trade war between the U.S. and China is escalating. Later this month, the United States will place a 10% tariff on $200 billion worth of goods from China. That percentage is expected to rise to 25% before the end of this year. These tariffs are in addition to penalties the White House imposed on $50 billion worth of other Chinese products. Analysts say these tariffs could harm a possible diplomatic breakthrough with China.
Moving around the region this morning, students in Texas may no longer be required to learn about Hillary Clinton and Barry Goldwater. They would be taken out of a new social class curriculum that was recommended on Monday. The state education board says the goal is to have students go deeper into subjects instead of emphasizing memorization. The proposal would also eliminate Helen Keller, a writer and advocate for the deaf and blind. The recommendation was made after volunteers rated historical figures based on their impact and other factors. The final vote is set for November.
Well, Hurricane Florence is now responsible for at least 32 deaths, including one from a possible tornado that hit Virginia.
Yeah, the storm is shaping up to be one of the costliest to ever hit the U.S. Laura Podesta has more from New York.
An apparent tornado ravaged buildings and homes in Virginia. The latest problem in the wake of Hurricane Florence. One person died and another was injured when this warehouse collapsed.
There were plenty of people that were in this warehouse and building working, and we didn't have any more injuries or deaths.
A handful of possible tornadoes also struck North Carolina yesterday.
We thought Florence was gone. We thought she was gone.
Residents throughout the Carolinas are still dealing with historic flooding, and it's only getting worse with some rivers still rising.
I didn't pay any attention to the evacuation thing yesterday because I wanted to stay. I didn't believe we'd make it, but it did.
Inside my house was about 5 feet this morning. Everything is downstairs ruined.
Economists at Moody's Analytics estimate Florence may end up as one of the top 10 costliest hurricanes to hit the U.S., with $17 to $22 billion in property damage, maybe more.
Farms in eastern North Carolina.
Larry Baldwin is with a North Carolina environmental group. He flew over flooded areas to assess the farmland.
The situation is not good, but it's likely to get much worse throughout the rest of the week as these waters start to get to their flood levels.
The city of Wilmington is handing out 60,000 packaged meals this morning to residents still trapped by flooded roads. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Meantime, rescue crews from Louisiana are doing their part to help Florence victims. Louisiana's swift water teams rescued 2 men stuck in floodwaters in Bennettsville, South Carolina. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster saw the 2 men on top of a car swept away in the flood during his helicopter tour of the area. Louisiana Search and Rescue Task Forces 1, 2, and 3 were dispatched and helped the man get to safety.
And our local response team 8 is headed back home after helping victims in the aftermath of Florence. The team arrived there last Thursday morning, helping in structural collapse and water rescue missions. They're made up of firefighters from Monroe, West Monroe, and Ouachita Parish. They were sent home after helping with water rescues in Chesterfield County, South Carolina. Now, the state fire marshal's office is staying to help with even more water evacuations. And of course, Florence has torn lives apart, leaving many people with little or nothing. Many of you already helping people recover, but there's still a lot to do. And that's why we're once again teaming up with the American Red Cross to raise money for the Carolinas. Thursday, KNOE and the Red Cross will host 8 hours of caring to help the people most impacted by Florence. Watch KNOE starting at 2 p.m. on Thursday and help us help survivors by calling in a donation. We're going to be taking calls through our 10 o'clock newscast. And of course, this is so important. Now that the rain has stopped, a lot of people think that the storm is over, but this is when the real damage really starts to set in.
So after the storm, you think, okay, we are done with seeing the cost of damage rise, but that's actually incorrect. With all the flooding that's still, there are homes right now that are standing that will probably get flooded as the rivers rise.
Yeah, and a lot of these rivers, I mean, could still be 2-3 days before they actually crest, so we won't know the extent of the damage really probably until the weekend.
Remember a couple months ago, last spring, it was about 3 weeks after all the rain when our rivers finally crested, so it takes quite a while.
And speaking of the telethon, after the success we had with Hurricane Harvey last year, hopefully we'll have just as much support this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about neighbors helping neighbors, and the only thing we can do right now is be there for each other.
Sure.
All right, guys, we are switching gears now. It is time for the Facebook question of the day. We're going to figure out the answer. Which country has the highest rate of redheads?
We'll let the redhead go first.
Okay, I said either Ireland or Scotland.
Okay, but which one are you going to choose?
I really don't know, so I'm just going to pull a Dylan today and take both.
Okay, that way you'll get half a point if you get
Right.
one right. Hey, which is what kind of happened yesterday, right, with the Simpsons answer. I'm going to say Ireland. What are you saying, Dylan?
I said Canada.
Okay. All right, and then we have James who says Ireland, and we have Deborah who says the great USA. Let's see what the answer is this morning. Scotland.
Half a point.
But see, if you had just said Scotland, I had already said Ireland. If you went with Scotland, you would have had a full point.
I know, but I played it safe.
So, like, we gave you a full point yesterday. Technically, you got a half a point. But with this half point, now you got 1 point.
1 full point this week. Those are not bad odds.
Yo, no, that's not bad, especially like as hard as it is to get a question right. You got a whole point for the week now so far.
And I do feel like our producer is aiming these questions at me this week.
Oh, yeah, something to him. She just said she is.
Cartoons and redheads. I mean, can't wait for tomorrow's to be about Disney or Harry Potter.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you for joining the conversation this morning. We're going to do it all over again tomorrow, but be sure you stick around. The big winners at last night's Emmy Awards could not hold a candle to an onstage proposal. We'll have all the highlights coming up next. Stay with us. 646 this morning. Welcome back. Across the nation today, at least 12 tornadoes touched down in Virginia on Monday. You're taking a look at one of them tearing the roof off a building about 14 miles west of Richmond. The tornadoes and severe weather are related to what's now Tropical Depression Florence. And I actually was watching the nightly news yesterday and saw Jeff Glore, and I forget the reporter's name, but they had coverage on that last night.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see that that actually was a result of Florence.
It's interesting, though, because we really underestimate the tornado strength that can sometimes come from these hurricanes. Hurricanes are a really good breeding ground for tornadoes, especially on the northeast side of the track. We talk about that northeast quadrant where you have more wind shear and a lot of winds that twist and turn with height, which just make that rotation for a tornado more conducive. And that's something that happens oftentimes, especially once hurricanes make landfall. Here at home, we are getting off to a dry start, but I want to start you off here with something pretty cool. So yesterday, I was driving, and I took a picture of a really cool cloud shadow right here. This is pretty interesting. It looks pretty ominous out in the distance, but you can see right here is the sun, and we have a cumulus cloud off in the distance. So as the sun goes down, you kind of see the casting shadow of the clouds. And you can see that where the sun rays are blocked out, we have a darker shade of blue, whereas over here where the sunlight, where the beams kind of get scattered as they travel longer distances, now you get those yellowy, orangey colors, kind of making for a pretty sight as folks head home from work. This was yesterday evening, in case you're wondering. Now, at home today, we're looking at 74 degrees. 72 is a dew point temperature, so a little bit on the muggy side with visibility pretty good at about 10 miles, no problems there. Your kids, though, if they are doing any after-school activities, they're going to want to drink the water and hydrate. We're looking at 97 degrees for a high temperature. Potentially, we could be looking at warmer temperatures today than what we had yesterday, so it's really, really important. Even 10 to 15 minutes of walking around outside, you can start sweating, and you can really dehydrate pretty quickly when the weather is like this. Now today, I'm forecasting 97. The average is 88. The record is 102. That is hard to believe, and that was set back in 2002. So we're not going to be breaking any records, but we are going to be about 9 degrees above average, which is really hard to believe after how cool August was, and now as we're heading into September, we're getting closer to autumn and things are actually getting warmer, as ironic as that may sound. Now today, we start off dry by the afternoon, timestamp 1 p.m. We might get a couple showers here showing up on the map, but we're only looking at about 10% coverage, so that means that subsequently about 90% of you will stay completely dry, and any rain that we do get dissipates as soon as the sun goes down. So for today, we are going to be looking at wall-to-wall blue skies. There's that 10% chance for rain later on in the evening with a light northwest wind here at about 3 to 5 miles per hour. The hot weather probably going to continue here as we head through up next several days. We still got a strong dome of high pressure. Here's our jet stream well up to the north. And where we have that big ridge of high pressure, you get that sinking air. And so we're going to have that expanding heat that's going to travel all the way up toward the central plains. And unfortunately, that's probably going to continue as we head through the rest of the work week. Tonight, 73 degrees, looking at clear skies. Pretty good weather, all things considered. Tomorrow, once again, high temperatures, dangerous heat, looking at 97 degrees with plenty of sunshine. On the 7-day forecast, looking at about a 10% chance for rain right up and through Friday. Then as we head through Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, now we're going to keep rain chances between 20 and 30% with temperatures most likely sitting in the mid-range of the 90s. And unfortunately, as far as our forecast data goes out, it does not look like a cool down is in sight.
So it's going to be rainy and hot.
Yeah, well, only 20 to 30%, but it's more the heat index that we're most concerned about, what the air actually feels like. So probably 105 to 108.
So definitely kind of in that zone where you want to be paying attention.
Yep, exactly.
Fantastic. All right, thanks, Dylan. David Daniel takes a look at all of the big winners at last night's Emmy Awards in your Hollywood Minute.
The big winner on TV's biggest night was The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. The Amazon series picked up 5 Emmys, including Outstanding Comedy Series and Lead Comedy Actress for Rachel Brosnahan.
It's about a woman who's finding her voice anew, and it's something that's happening all over the country right now. One of the most important ways that we can find and use our voices is to vote.
HBO's Game of Thrones returned to win a pair of Emmys, including Outstanding Drama Series, while FX's American Crime Story, The Assassination of Gianni Versace, took a trio of trophies, topped by Outstanding Limited Series or TV Movie.
1 out of every 4 LGBTQ people in this country will be the victim of a hate crime. We dedicate this award to them.
One of the night's biggest ovations went to Henry Winkler, who won for supporting actor in a comedy series for HBO's Barry, the first Emmy of his long career.
I only have 37 seconds. I wrote this 43 years ago. Okay.
The 70th Emmy Awards included a standing ovation for 96-year-old TV treasure Betty White.
It's incredible that I'm still in this business, and you are still putting up with me.
But the night's most memorable moment no one saw coming, except Glenn Weiss, who won an Emmy for directing the Oscars and used his acceptance speech to tell his girlfriend, Jan Svensson,
"You wonder why I don't like to call you my girlfriend?
because I want to call you my wife. Will you marry me?
On a night of winners, what could be a sweeter win than that? In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Chen will not be seen on The Talk anymore. In a taped message sent to air today, Chen will address her decision to leave the show. It comes after she took time off work to spend it with her husband, Les Moonves. He stepped down as CBS CEO amid sexual misconduct allegations. Chen publicly supported her husband, who denies those allegations. She'll continue to host the CBS reality show Big Brother. And former Beatles band member Paul McCartney's new album, Egypt Station, has landed at the #1 spot on the Billboard Top 200. It's his first #1 album in the United States in 36 years. The album was released on September 7th. It sold more than 150,000 copies in the first week. McCartney last held first place with 1982's Tug of War, his 7th #1 solo album. Stick around. We've got your morning recap right after this.
All right, folks, it's almost 7 o'clock, but before you head out the door, we're going to get you caught up on today's top headlines.
Olivia Russell at ULM. She kicks off our morning recap.
ULM is one step closer to breaking into the field of medicine. Today, they'll break ground on the brand new proposed building for the medical school. That'll be a partnership with the Edward Via College of Osteopathic Medicine. Officials say the 4-story building will have plenty of study rooms, an anatomy lab, and classrooms that will seat over 200 students. They also say this building is a big part of the process for getting national accreditation. The groundbreaking will take place this morning at 11 with special guests like Governor John Bell Edwards, VCOM reps, and Monroe City leaders.
Doctors no longer have a limit on how many patients they can prescribe medical marijuana. The Louisiana State Board of Medical Examiners agreed to remove a cap for back in 2016. Before then, doctors had only up to 100 medical marijuana patients.
And the West Carroll Police Department will soon be getting 2 new police cars. They'll be bought with federal funds from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Community Facilities Grant Program. The agency will receive $53,000. This is the second grant since June that the USDA has awarded it to the West Carroll law enforcement.
A $9 million education grant has been given to the state of Louisiana. The funds will go toward expanding mental health services for students in hopes of supporting health development and preventing youth violence. The award will be split up over the next 5 years. Each year, the state will receive $1.8 million.
And University Health Conway getting ready for flu season. They say they haven't seen any cases just yet, but say that October is when they'll really start to see cases skyrocket. They just received a large shipment of flu vaccinations and say they're already starting to screen people for the virus. Doctors say everyone should get flu shots, especially who have heart conditions or other illnesses.
6:57, your weather to go this morning. Let's just pause it right there and hold on to the Cream Creek Tower Cam for another second and just enjoy. Man, I love the sunrise. Sunrise exactly at 6:57 this morning, and that's exactly the current time, so it makes sense. Right now, Doppler radar, we're clear. The wind doesn't know where it wants to come from. It's coming from the east in Tallulah, coming from the north in El Dorado, coming from the northwest in Shreveport. So that's kind of the thing today. The wind's going to be very variable. Up toward New England, here's a look at the remnants of Florence right now. Showers and thunder showers extending across New Hampshire in through the New England states, eventually moving offshore today. That is good news, but not before leaving some heavy rainfall across New England. At home, we got strong ridging of high pressure here, and where you have high pressure, calm conditions are typically expected. That will be what we look at today, and I think our high is probably going to be pretty warm. Get a look at this. I'm thinking 96. Some of our computer data suggests 97, 98. Then even at 6 p.m., still looking at temperatures holding on to the lower end of the 90s. So look at your day planner. Sunshine to start out. We're going to call it bright blue skies, and by the afternoon, looking at 97 degrees. We do have about a 10% chance for rain in there. For the most part, we'll notice those fair weather cumulus clouds probably developing here as we head through the later afternoon. 7-day forecast looking pretty dry all week long. Not the best weather to be doing anything outside, especially for, you got to figure, all the high school and college kids who play football. Definitely make sure to drink the water because it is dangerous to be outside for long periods of time. Even after school, we're still looking at temperatures sitting in the 90s, and unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of letting up to this heat. It looks like it's going to be pretty persistent. Here's a look at what's coming up on CBS.
I'm John Dickerson. Coming up, actor Brandon Michael Hall, star of the new CBS drama God Friended Me, will be in Studio 57. That's coming up on CBS this morning.
And if you have a birthday in September, we want you to email us at birthdays@knoe.com.
Tell us your name, your birthday, and send us a photo, and we might be able to celebrate with you right here on the show. And this week's Good Morning ArkLaMiss Snapshots category is Women's Friendship Week.
That's right. So go ahead and send in your photos of your best girlfriends. Submit your photos on my capture on knoe.com or just email us on snapshots@knoe.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being with us today, guys.
Have a good one. See you today at noon.
Today only happens once, so make it amazing.